Okay, so let's move to the next phase of this lecture, and just the reminder that our demographic presence in this country is massive. As many of us know, the Latino vote won the re-election of Obama. Our numbers are in the low 50 millions in this country. We're the largest minority population, right? Majority minority population. And this does not include the 12 or so million undocumented Latinos that are living here. In other words, there is a certain demographic pressure, and with that demographic pressure, of course, comes, as I mentioned earlier, a sense that we are also a debt or credit card or money buying power for the consumption of these cultural objects. So that's a reminder of the demographic urge and push and necessity for cultural phenomena to be reflecting a reality that is very much Latino, and of course a socioeconomic system that wants to cash in literally on this fact. To remind us of a couple of things that I mentioned earlier, we really have to reimagine, precisely because of a reflection on the way reality is constructed today, the reality being constructed by and through Latinos here in the U.S., we really have to refigure our sense of what this mainstream is. Okay? We have to understand that the material culture that we are creating, whether it be Barbie dolls, lowriders, films, comic books, buildings, architecture, art, or intellectual culture, that could be scientific discovery. Diabetes, for instance, in the Latino community is very high, but it could also be things like this lecture I'm giving, blogs, and so on. Interpretation of this culture, right? How we assign meaning to this material culture, this material objects that we produce as Latinos, or the material culture that is produced by non-Latinos that is reflective of our presence. Think about our numbers. If you look at a playground, even here in Columbus, we're increasingly seeing Latino kids on these playgrounds. And the estimates say that we're going to be seeing about 1 in 4 Latino kids on those playgrounds nationally. If not today, we will be seeing that tomorrow. This massive presence of Latinos in material reality, impacting the way this material reality is distilled and recreated in cultural products, and, of course, our intellectual or our interpretive presence when it comes to looking at and consuming the presence of these objects. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about Latino culture in the United States. Now, this is a very different situation from even 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, when our production and our presence in the United States was not as abundant. It was certainly here, but not as abundant. So we could point to instances of Latinidad or Latino-ness in culture at large, but we couldn't talk about the mainstream culture being transformed constantly by our presence as we do today, by our presence in sports, in entertainment, TV, film, comics, drama, dance, science, humanities, and politics. So to end my lecture here on Latino culture, I just want to remind us that if culture's building blocks are reality, and if our reality is Latino, then cultural products reflect the degree of Latino mainstream co-influence. And I'll leave us with a quote from the Brats when Manny tells his sister, "Don't get your bragas in a twist. It's done in a very naturalized way to remind us that, in fact, Latinos have transformed and are transforming mainstream culture today and will continue to do so tomorrow.